Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Welcome all again!
What's up, everybody? It is Friday. We made it. We made it pretty much to the weekend. Glad you could join us. Sharp and Shapiro back at you. Oh, yeah. Hope everybody's had a good week. And we got a lot to get to tonight. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to be speaking with Amy Vanderpool from the BBC. She's going to be talking to us about the debates because, you know, I'm not a professional. I don't know who won the debates. I could give you my opinions on who I think scored some points, but Amy does a fantastic job. Who won these debates? Who are the winners? Who are the losers? So she'll be coming up in hour number 2, along with Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Oh, yeah, always a lot to get to with Mike every week. We couldn't get to him yesterday, so he's joining us today. You know, you can't make this stuff up. People think when I criticize the president, it's fake news, making stuff up. CNN makes stuff up. MSNBC makes stuff up. Certainly, the media, they have their bias, as Fox News does, right? But we're talking about Twitter again today. And in the history of the presidency, we've never seen anything like this. In the same day, the president has criticized Elijah Cummings, more than criticized, actually mocked the fact that his house was robbed. And in the same day he does that, he starts coddling to Kim Jong Un. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. Here's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, as you know, Donald Trump has gone after Elijah Cummings all week for what has taken place in Baltimore, the crime in Baltimore, so on and so forth. So Elijah Cummings' house was robbed last night, police are saying. That's a serious situation, right? We have a congressman. You can disagree with his politics all you want, but Elijah Cummings is a good man. Good father, good husband. He's a good man. Civil rights activist for God knows how long. Again, you can disagree with his policies all you want to, disagree with his politics, but this is a serious thing. When somebody's house gets robbed, has that ever happened to you? Maybe your car, somebody broke into your car, somebody broke into your house. It's a serious thing. So what does Donald Trump do to respond to this stuff? What is his first response? Well, he takes to Twitter, as he always does. This is his quote on Twitter. "Really bad news! Exclamation point. The Baltimore house of Elijah Cummings was robbed. Too bad! Exclamation point." We all know what that means, folks. He's mocking the fact and making fun of the fact that this poor man, his house was robbed. And if you want to talk about the crime in Baltimore, and you want to talk about everything else that's going on in Baltimore, we can have that discussion. But there is nothing funny about mocking a man in Congress whose house was robbed, and that is exactly what the President of the United States did on Twitter. But it doesn't end there, because as I said, on the same day that he mocks Elijah Cummings for his house being robbed, he praises Kim Jong Un after North Korea's third short-range missile launch in just over a week. Donald Trump said that it didn't violate the agreement he struck last year with the evil, murderous dictator, even though he acknowledged that these launches may violate the United Nations resolutions. Now, what do I mean when I say he's coddling to Kim Jong Un? This is what Donald Trump said on Twitter today. Quote, "Chairman Kim has a great and beautiful vision for his country." Okay, I'm going to go on with this tweet in a second. Let me just stop right there for a second. Beautiful vision for his country? What the hell is Trump talking about? What kind of beautiful vision is killing hundreds and thousands of your own people, including members of your family? What is so beautiful about that? What is so beautiful about what happened to Otto Warmbier, I wonder? I would ask the president. Chairman Kim has a great and beautiful vision for his country, and only the United States, with me as president, can make that vision come true. He will do the right thing because he is far too smart not to, and he does not want to disappoint his friend, President Trump. He also went on to call him, his close friend. Again, this is all coddling. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. On the same day you're mocking a respected congressman for his house being robbed, you go ahead and you praise an evil, murderous dictator in Kim Jong Un. After the third short-range missile launch in just over a week, you cannot make this stuff up. This is a serious problem. So I say this to Trump supporters out there. And if you're not a Trump supporter, I'll take your call as well. Maybe you agree with me on this. But I say this to Trump supporters out there. Can you stand up and can you say, yes, I support the president's policies. Yes, I think the country's headed in the right direction. But this is disgusting. Going after Elijah Cummings, making light of the fact that his place was robbed, his home, is disgusting. Can you do that? Now, listen, I have zero respect for Nikki Haley. Zero. Because she is one of those enablers that worked for Donald Trump that never stood up to the horrific things that he says on a daily basis. So today of all days, she decides to go on Twitter and she says, quote, and this is all she says, by the way, "This is so unnecessary." That's what she says on Twitter in regards to President Donald Trump's tweet about Elijah Cummings. She says, "This is so unnecessary." Well, where was she when she was working for Donald Trump? Where was she when he went after John McCain, when he said he should be praised for the funeral that John McCain has? Where was she when Donald Trump said there are good people on both sides? Where was she? And all the terrible things that Donald Trump has said about women of color, so on and so on. Where was she? But now she decides to take a stance. Now, listen, I agree with her. It's more than unnecessary. It's disgusting. But where was she then? And for all these other Republican cowards out there that are now saying, "Oh, this is a terrible tweet. Mr. President, please stop." Where were you the last 2 years? And that's what I'm talking about. And I'll take your phone calls at 702-257-5396 on this issue. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the show, 257-5396. It's unfortunate that this is becoming the norm now. This is a norm. People just expect this from the president, and they keep silent. And when you talk to many Republicans out there, not all, but many Republicans, their response will be, "Well, you know what? And, it's not something that I would do. It's not something that I would have said. I wouldn't have gone on Twitter and said that. But let's talk about Hillary Clinton. Let's talk about Barack Obama. Let's talk about everything else and deflect. Let's do this whataboutism, and let's not talk about the president's disgusting tweets on a regular basis. And today, make no mistake about it, is no different." How can you defend this man? How could you defend the vile tweets that he puts out there on a daily basis? How? Because there is no defense for it. Because it's wrong, it's disgusting, it needs to stop. And that is the point I try to make on a regular basis. And you could make the argument, "Well, Brian, the economy's great, unemployment numbers are down, everything's going good. Let's just let the president be disgusting. Let's just let it happen." And did you see the rally last night in Cincinnati? Did you see it? A couple of people had signs up defending immigrants, saying immigrants founded this country, which, by the way, is true. And then some Trump supporters whipped away the signs, violently ripping up those signs. And the president stood there with his thumb up his ass for 5 minutes. What do you think about that? Same situation when we heard the chant, "Send her back." And for 13 seconds, the president just stood there and soaked it all in. Is that a leader? Is this man a leader? No. He's a coward. And now he wants to go after Elijah Cummings. Now he wants to go over this man, and he wants to mock the fact that his house was robbed. Are there issues in Baltimore? Absolutely. Chicago, Baltimore. Look, there's some serious issues throughout the country when it comes to crime. But you want to make light of the fact that this man's house was robbed, and then you want to coddle Kim Jong Un and people out there that support Donald Trump. You want to defend this? You think this is okay? What would have happened if Barack Obama did that? What would have happened if Barack Obama went after a white congressman and made fun of the fact that the congressman's place was robbed? What would have happened if Donald Trump did that? What would have happened? if for the third time in a week there was a short-range missile launch in just over a week, what would have happened if Barack Obama went on Twitter calling Kim Jong Un his friend, kind of brushing off these short-range missile launches? What would have happened then? We'll take your phone calls again. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Caleb. Caleb, what's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say first was nice. Only had to wait about 2 minutes to get on. And then also, next thing I want to say is that I'm sorry, but anyone who defends Donald Trump and some of the stuff he says, I mean, they need to have their head examined because North Korea is an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Caleb. We're in complete 100% agreement. It is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. With North Korea, I read something about 1 in 250 Americans who visit there winds up going to one of the labor camps.
Yeah. You know what? I don't doubt that. Let me ask you a question, Caleb. So are you a Democrat or Republican, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I'm nonpartisan. I'm a small L libertarian.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm sort of in the middle, so we're pretty close on that front. But what do you make of the fact that on the same day that Donald Trump goes after Elijah Cummings and mocks the fact that this man's house was robbed, he praises Kim Jong Un, calling him a great friend and saying that he shares a great vision for his country? What do you make of that? Isn't that an embarrassment to the country?
Yeah, because, quite frankly, with North Korea, the only vision I see for them is the suppressing people's rights. And yeah,
exactly. Caleb, I'm so glad you called. Thank you so much. We are in agreement. 257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, how are you, sir?
That would be Brian. You're Mark. I'm doing good, man. What's on your mind, Mark?
So one thing about the Elijah Cummings, which I happen to think, as far as and his Twitter feed, I do not agree with him 100%. But on the same token, Elijah Cummings has blasted him for far worse and on top of his kids, and they continue to do that. I really don't see what the House Democrats have really done for our country.
All right, but hold on. Let's focus. Let's just focus on the comments, though. I mean, we can talk about policy and what Democrats have done or not done. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that, Mark. What has Elijah Cummings said about Donald Trump that you disagree with? Be specific.
First of all, that he's a racist. That's like the first thing that they go to now because it was Russian hoax for how many years?
Okay, forget about the Russian hoax. Forget about the Russian, whether you call it a hoax or not. Let's focus on what you just said. Elijah Cummings has called Donald Trump a racist. When you tell somebody to go back to their country, what would you say that is, Mark?
What I would say that is patriotism towards our country.
It is patriotism towards our country when you tell a woman of color to go back to her country. That's when your definition of patriotism, with all due respect, Mark, that is pathetic.
And you know what is very funny is on the great gold standard of Dr. Martin Luther King, they said judge by content of character. Not by the color.
Did Martin Luther King ever tell somebody to go back? Did Martin Luther King ever tell somebody to go back to their country? Mark, did Martin Luther King ever tell somebody to go back to their country? What do you think Martin Luther King would say when our president of the United States tells 4 women of color to go back to their country? You think Martin Luther King would support that?
Do you think that...
Answer the question. Don't answer the question with another question. Answer mine. Do you think Martin Luther King would support Donald Trump telling 4 women of color, 3 of whom were born in this country, to go back to their country? It's a very simple question, Mark.
He would say, you have to earn your place in society.
No, he wouldn't. Mark, you have no idea what you're talking about. No, he wouldn't. He would say it's an abomination. Excuse me?
No. Because you bait all these questions.
I bait all these questions. No, I don't. I'm not baiting anything. I'm not baiting anything. Donald Trump told 4 women of color to go back to their country, 3 of whom were born in the United States. Explain to me how that's baiting.
Because you're baiting that to say that because they are a woman of color.
They are. I'm not saying they are.
Obviously get a pass.
They are.
No.
What are you talking about? They are 4 women of color. What are you saying?
What does that have to do with anything about the American values? What does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what. I'll answer your question. I'll tell you what this has to do about American values. When you disagree with somebody, forget about what the color of their skin is. You have a conversation with them, and if you disagree with them, that's fine, okay? You don't tell somebody to go back to their country. That's not what America's all about. America was founded with immigrants. Do you have any idea what history is? Did you go to history class in high school?
So when you're saying that if somebody doesn't agree with your values, when somebody says somebody did something, that they go, oh, well, no, they downplay the 9/11 attack.
I'll tell you what I say.
Go, I'm a 9/11.
I'll tell you what I say, Mark. I'll tell you what I say, Mark. I say I wish she would get the hell out of Congress. That's what I say. Get her the hell out of Congress. I don't support Omar. I never have. I've done hours on this show saying that I believe she's an anti-Semite. But you know one thing I've never said on this show, Mark? One thing I have never said, my friend, is send her back to her country. Do you know why, Mark? Because that's racist. Listen, I appreciate the call, Mark. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Unfortunately, I don't understand where you're coming from. To quote Martin Luther King, are you kidding me? You think Martin Luther King would put up with this nonsense? 257-5396. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky, what's going on?
Hey, can you hear me, Brian?
Yes, sir. What's up, Ricky?
All right, yeah, I'm just listening to your comment there, and I somewhat agree with your last caller to a degree. The fact that these are women and women of color, you have to preface that. Obviously, it's a fact and it's known. It has no bearing on what the president said.
So does it have any bearing?
Back to their country.
Does it have any bearing that 3 of the 4 women were born in the United States of America? Does that have any bearing?
Yeah, it has some bearing.
So why would you tell somebody to
But
go back to their country when they were born in the United States of America? Explain that.
what has Donald Trump been doing for the last 2 years? He's been speaking in hyperbole. Exaggerated language. Yes, hyperbole.
Hyperbole?
You and all these pundits that take the bait that you dish out.
Excuse me, I take the bait? Oh, so we should just say when he makes a racist statement and tells people to go back to their country, the excuse. Oh, okay. Let me ask you. I'll answer. Fine. Even though you interrupted me, I'll answer your question. Do you think he would say that about a white woman? Do you think he would tell a white woman to go back to her country?
If her views were antithetical,
answer the question. Has he ever done that?
Let me finish. If this white woman's views were antithetical to the American principles, I think he would.
Has he done it? Name me one white person. Name me one white person he's ever said go back to your country. Name me one.
Well, it hasn't brought up.
In his entire life, give me one example of one white person.
I can't, but that doesn't.
Exactly.
Just because I don't have an example doesn't mean that he wouldn't say that.
So race isn't a factor then. Is that what you're saying? This has nothing to do with race? Is that what you're saying? Nothing at all. Zero to do with race. Yeah.
Why does all this have to be race? These are anti-patriotic women.
Oh, really? So it's anti. So give me an example. Besides, excuse me, Ricky, calm down for a second. I don't defend Omar. As far as those other 3 women, give me one un-American thing that they said or something that you think is fair for the president to say, go back to your country if you don't like it here. Give me an example.
What they were talking about, what you said about Omar, about being
Not talking about Omar. I'm talking about the other 3 women. Give me one example of something they said.
About Ocasio or Cortez?
Give me something that Ocasio-Cortez says that you think is so un-American and they're stepping on the flag and they hate America. Give me one specific example, please.
Oh, I think when she said a couple of times that she's in favor of reparations, I think all these women are.
So you think because if you're in favor of reparations, that must mean you hate the country? Is that what you're saying?
I never said that.
Okay, you just said that 4 women hate the United. That's a bad example. You just said 4 women hate the United States of America. I just asked you to give me an example, and now when I diss you for that example, you say, "Well, I'm not saying they hate the country." You just said that. Give me another example.
No. You're taking words out of. These women are most of them are anti-Semites.
No, they're not. Omar is. Give me an example of those. Give me an example of those. Hold on a second. You just said something that's not factual. I'm not talking about Omar. Give me an example of those 3 other women doing something that you believe to be anti-Semitic. What is Ocasio?
Are they all in favor of the boycott Israel movement, the BDS movement? I think
that is a policy. That is a policy. That does not mean they hate Jewish people, Ricky, with all due respect.
Well, with all due respect, I think that is somewhat. They are not pro-Israel. Can I?
If you are not, so all of a sudden, if you're not pro-Israel, it's okay to say go back to your country, and we can call them anti-Semites if you're not pro-Israel. Is that what you're saying?
I'm answering your question. You think
it's absurd? You're not.
Israel?
It's absurd. It's absurd what you're, Ricky. With all due respect, I gave you numerous chances there to explain yourself. You can't say you hate America, and then the best thing you could come up with is that? 257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, what's going on?
Hey, I hate to pile on, but I have to agree with the last two callers.
Okay, be specific. Where am I wrong, Ron?
Well, you want to defend these women, but
I'm not defending Omar. I'm not. You know what? I'll defend any American, any citizen who is in this country. If somebody tells you to go back to your country, I'm going to call them a racist. In that aspect, I would defend you. I would defend anybody. It's not just about them.
Okay, but you're taking one statement he made in a large context and making too much of it.
Making too much of a statement when the president of the United States says go back to your country?
When he's saying go back to your country, what he's really saying is...
What he's really saying is...
If you're a socialist,
Ron,
if you like it,
Ron,
if you like it over there, go there.
Do you,
go
Ron,
there.
do you know how many... Do you know,
Ron,
okay, hang on a second.
There's plenty of reasons in the world to go... That if that's what you like, but don't try to make
It's not what he said. Not what he said. Ron, with all due respect, you know how many Trump supporters I talk to when I try to, talk about an issue, like, for example, when he went after John McCain, when I bring up something like that, and I talk to a Trump supporter, and their response is just what you said. Here's what he meant to say, or here's what he really meant. No, Ron, I'm going by exactly what Donald Trump said in his tweets, okay? Don't give me this. This is what he meant. This is what he really meant to say. No, I am going by the tweets. And Ron, on the same day that he goes after Elijah Cummings, on the same day that he mocks the fact that Cummings' place was robbed and that he defends Kim Jong Un, this is the day you want to defend Donald Trump?
Yeah, because you're doing the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing.
No, I'm not. I never told someone to go back to their country. How am I doing the exact same thing? I never went after John McCain.
You want to feel sorry for Elijah Cummings? I mean, what would you do? This is Elijah Cummings has been. Trump is a counterpuncher. Elijah Cummings has been coming after him, They talk impeachment. They talk races. They talk all this nonsense all the time. It's all.
So you think it's okay? So you think it's okay? No.
I don't think Trump is a racist. No.
All right, fine. I get the fact. I get the fact you don't think he's a racist. I get it. You're a diehard Trump supporter. You are defending the fact. Let me, folks, just hear me out here for a second before I take a few more calls. This man just defended the fact that the president of the United States mocked the fact that Elijah Cummings' house was robbed. And this man who just called up is defending that. We can talk about policy. You can dislike Elijah Cummings as a person. You can dislike his policies. But to mock the guy because his place was robbed, just take a step back for a second. That's what that last caller was just doing. Let's go to Neil. Neil, what's going on? Neil, are you there? I think we lost Neil. 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hello, Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Sharp.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind, Mike?
Trump shoots from the lip. That's all I got to say. I mean, for that part, he shoots from the lip. I don't agree with what he said. I think it's awful, but if you put it in the big picture, the context of it, their fighting is unbelievable.
I'll put it in the big picture. Mike, I'll give you the big picture. Donald Trump is an a-hole. Donald Trump is a piece of garbage.
I know.
That's the big picture. He's just a really bad guy. That's the big picture.
I don't think he's a bad person, but I'm glad.
So you think having sex with a porn star after your wife just had a child, that you would call that a good person?
No, if that really happened, no.
Of course it happened. Of course it happened. What do you mean if it happened? Of course it happened. Come on, we all know it happened.
Well, you know what kind of wedding they went through. A Roman Catholic wedding is so ornate and expensive. I mean, for him to cross the line on that. But anyway.
You think hold on a second. You just said you don't think Trump is a bad person. You think saying about John McCain's war service, I don't respect him because he was captured.
I think Trump used to be a bad person, but I think he has become Christian, but he's still.
What?
He's not making the right decisions.
Are you really want to make
choices? He's losing valuable time.
Do you really want to make the case? Do you really, Mike? Be honest with me, my friend. I like you, Mike. Okay, but be honest with me.
Okay. Thank you.
You really think that Donald Trump is a good Christian? Did you really just say that?
Well, remember, one of the definitions of a Christian is you're a sinner.
How about somebody that doesn't tell somebody to go back to their country? How about somebody that doesn't cheat on their wife multiple times? How about somebody that doesn't...
Well, Brian, I already told you I thought that might have been a derivative from love it or leave it.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. As a good Christian, are you a good Christian?
I'm a good sinner.
Okay, well, I understand. I'm with you on that one, Mike. Unfortunately, but in all seriousness, though, Mike, would a good Christian stand on a stage and allow crowd to chant "Send her back" and stand there for 13 seconds and kind of nod and soak it all in? Would that be what a good Christian would do?
No, but
I appreciate your
look
honesty.
at both sides of the story. This guy is not a machine, and he's been on an endless zigzag around the world, hammering everybody. I mean, the guy never stops. If he makes a mistake once in a while at a speech, maybe someone was saying something in his ear like, sir, someone's turning a rifle on you right now.
I understand, Mike. This isn't a mistake in his speech, though. He tweeted it, and I appreciate the call, Mike, and I appreciate your honesty. But with all due respect, Donald Trump tweeted out today, really bad news. The Baltimore house of Elijah Cummings was robbed. Too bad. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a speech. That was calculated. On the same day, he also praises Kim Jong Un. Listen, I want to get to all your calls. We're going to take a short break. I promise you, just a few minutes. We will be right back. We've got Melissa, Doug, Justin, Kelly, David, John, and more. I will give you ample time, and I will take all your calls when we come back. And by the way, coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be speaking with Amy Vanderpool from the BBC, who won these Democratic debates. I tell you, I really don't know. She knows more than I do, so she's going to be coming up at the top of the hour. Also, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us. Hang on the line, folks. Promise you we'll give you some ample time. We will get to all your calls when we come back. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. We're talking about Donald Trump's tweets mocking Elijah Cummings for his place getting robbed. And then when asked about it, he says, no, I wasn't trying to be a wise guy. Do you see what a liar this guy is, what a scumbag he is? Do we need it any clearer, folks? It's insane. Oh, and what a shocker. Wow, he goes after another man of color. What a shocker. We got a couple phone lines open, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Let's get right back to the calls, as I promised I would. Let's go to Melissa. Melissa, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. I may be boring in comparison to the last four callers.
That's okay.
I agree with you.
That's not boring. I think you're extremely intelligent already, Melissa.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, my question, I appreciate that. My question is, do you think perhaps the reason why Donald Trump is throwing this little fit is maybe due to the fact that the economy is not going so well for him that he has promised?
Well,
you know, the GDP is down, the unemployment job numbers are down, business investments are down, Federal Reserves just lowered their rates to prevent a recession.
Right.
I mean, that's not really a good campaign to go by, Keep America Great, right?
Well, I mean, that's a valid point. I think the economy was certainly headed in the right direction when he took office. Obama took over a disaster. And I'm not an Obama defender, Melissa, but I thought Obama did a pretty good job as far as getting the economy back because he took over a disaster. And then Trump takes over. You know, Melissa, here's the interesting thing. Everybody wants to brag. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but Trump supporters want to brag. You know, he can't be a racist because black unemployment numbers are down. People don't understand the black unemployment rate was around 4.7% when Obama left office. It went down to about 4.2% with Donald Trump, and nobody could come up with a policy that Trump put in place that helps African Americans. They just go by the stat, lowest unemployment for African Americans of all time. And you're right, Melissa, the economy is not perfect. There's many people that are working 2 or 3 jobs right now to put food on the table. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And, it's just another lie by our president. But to answer your question in brief, because I went on a tangent there, no, I don't think this has anything to do with the economy. I just think it has to do with our orange man who's running in office right now, acts like a petulant 10-year-old.
He does.
He does.
Yeah,
No,
and
yeah.
the brainwash is just ridiculous. Fox News is just, it's brainwash. I just watched the network the other day, and that is a biography of a documentary on Fox News.
Yeah, but it's funny, though. Trump won't call Fox News fake news, though. You know, I wonder why. Melissa, it's good to hear from you. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 257-5396. We are going to go to Doug. Doug, what's going on? Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Brian. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm fired up, Doug, as always. You know me.
Brian, you're moving to 9 o'clock in the morning. I go to work. I'm going to miss you.
Oh, man. Well, I do have some good news for you, Doug. And by the way, I'm glad you brought that up. We are moving the show 9 a.m. to noon starting August 12th. We're very excited about that. We're going to be doing 3 hours a day. But, Doug, I do have the answer for you. We do podcast our show. You can check us out on Twitter at The Vegas Take. We have the Vegas Take SoundCloud account. We have a Vegas Take YouTube account. So, Doug, I'm sorry you won't be able to hear us live, but certainly we will podcast our shows for you.
Okay. And, one thing I always like about listening to you is you're an honest, straightforward person.
I try, unless I'm playing poker. Doug, then I'm a liar.
Yeah, that you're allowed to.
Yes.
And to be honest, last time I called, I told you, listen, when you're a conservative, just by unfortunate circumstances, you do have to be a Trump supporter, which I do extremely reluctantly. But the man just doesn't know how to behave.
That's an understatement.
It's horrible.
So this is interesting.
Like I said,
Doug, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're a Trump supporter, right? I mean, you voted for him, right?
I did because I think he's the only one
that's
who was
fine.
Get control over a few things. Yeah.
Listen, Doug, you don't have to listen, I didn't vote for Hillary.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I didn't vote for Hillary. So listen, I appreciate your honesty, Doug, and you're the type of person that, I respect. Why do you think there are so many Republicans out there that refuse to do what you do and call out the hatred, call out the racism?
That's what I don't get. How come there's not a couple of real Capitol Hill leaders or some advisors that just sit him down and say, listen, Donald, you gotta knock it off. You look like a racist.
Doug, I think they're afraid of him. Doug, I think they're afraid of him. I think they're afraid of losing their jobs. Nikki Haley is a perfect example. She didn't criticize the president when she was working for him. Now all of a sudden she goes on Twitter and says, Mr. President, this is so unnecessary. Talk about zero credibility, Doug. Zero.
Well, I can give you a little introspective. Is I knew someone that worked with him for years and years and years, and he's a bully. Trump is a bully.
Absolutely. He's a 10-year-old bully.
The problem is that nobody's going to straighten him out so that he doesn't look like a racist. I happen to know how many people he worked with in New York that were of color, if you want to use the word.
Right.
And I happen to know that his project manager for the Trump Tower was a female.
Right.
So he doesn't know how to make himself appear like he's not showing his true self. He's just being a brat.
I agree, and I think he's a narcissist, egomaniac.
Yes,
I don't know what's in his heart, Doug, but I will tell you this, my friend, and by the way, I really appreciate you calling in. Thank you. I'll tell you this, he certainly said some racist things. Do I know for sure whether he's a racist or not? No. He certainly says some racist things. Let's go to Justin. Justin, what's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
I really like your show, Brian. I've called in a couple times, and I like JD, and I like you too.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The one thing is, man, you're a great spinner. I don't know how to say this. And
how am I spinning?
Because, you spin everything because
no, I don't.
You don't talk about Trump's good stuff, the stuff he does do for the economy, and the stuff he does do in his administration as far as helping, the poor communities and things like that. He has done amazing things. I mean, if he was racist, then why would he help ASAP Rocky?
Okay, well, let me answer that. Okay, that's a valid question. Let me answer that. First of all, when you look at where the economy is at, he's not helping the middle class and poor people. He's helping rich people.
Yes,
he's not.
He helps the middle class with the taxes.
Okay, well,
I heard you say a couple things about the taxes, but I could guarantee you I'm a middle class guy, and I can tell you right now, he lowered my taxes greatly.
What about that one? So that $1.5 trillion tax cut, who do you think it helped the most?
But you know what? Guess how much the Democrats have helped me over the years? Guess how much the Democrats have helped me over the years?
We're not talking about the Democrats. I'm not a
listen. So when he lowers my taxes,
I'm not a Democrat.
$500 or $5,000, he still lowered my taxes.
First of all,
never lowered my taxes.
I'm not going to defend Democrats. I'm not a Democrat. We're talking about Donald Trump right now, and what I'm trying to tell you is we're talking about the stock market. Who benefits off of the stock market? Lower families that are making $25,000, $30,000 a year? No. Wealthy people benefit off the stock market, Justin. And listen, one other thing you said that I disagree with. You said I spin things. Let me tell you something. In the 20 years of doing radio, my friend, 20 years of doing radio, I've never said anything on the air that wasn't honest. I never said anything on the air that I didn't truly believe, unless I specifically said that I was joking or having a good time. The things I say on the air, like this conversation, I mean it, and I mean it wholeheartedly. I don't like Joe Biden. Half the Democrats I don't like. If you've been listening to the show all week, I've been criticizing these debates. I've been criticizing the Democrats. Donald Trump is not the only person that I am critical of. The problem is he is the commander-in-chief. He is the leader of the free world, and it starts with him. The buck starts with Donald Trump. He is the leader. He should be a role model, and instead he is a coward and a clown. And I'm just going to call him for what it is. I think he's a scumbag. Let's go to David. David, what's going on?
Oh, God, so much is going on, really.
You got that right, David.
There's conversation all over the place. I think that what I originally was called about is like, whether you say something racist, does that make you racist? I don't know. And I think you made a good point. You don't know what's in Donald Trump's heart. Is he a good Christian? Is he a bad Christian? Well, to be honest with you, there's no such thing as either. There really is no such thing as either. So, at any rate, going back to, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I am a Trump policy supporter. Mm-hmm. And you got to kind of look past it. It's the only thing I can do.
Okay, listen. If you said to me, David, I'm going to vote for Trump in 2020 because I like his policies and yada, 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 I'd say, okay. But can you stand up and say, look, Mr. President, what you're doing is wrong. Telling people to go back to their country is wrong.
He's completely ineloquent in those things. There's no question about that.
I wouldn't use that word, though. I wouldn't say ineloquent. Go ahead.
Well, he does. What he says is wrong. There's no question about that. Okay. It's not spoken well or what. I don't know what he's really trying. I'm not going to say he's trying to say.
Look, George W. Bush. Hold on. George W. Bush didn't speak well. This is a completely different situation. This isn't.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Go ahead, David.
I just want to say something really quickly about the squad, and that's this.
Go ahead.
I don't think they hate America, okay?
Yeah.
I don't. I think America is the boyfriend that they think they can change into what they want it to be, and then they'll love it. That's what I think they think about America. They don't like it as is. They don't like the people who founded it. They don't like a lot of parts of the Constitution. They don't like a lot of the laws. They don't fundamentally like it.
David, I'll say this. All right, that's an interesting point, David. I understand where you're coming from. I'll say this. There's a lot of things about America I don't like. Does that mean I hate America? No. There's no other country in the world I would rather live than the United States of America, and I've been in plenty of other countries. Trust me, I know. It doesn't mean you hate America just because you want changes made in this country. 257-5396. Bob, you're next. What's going on? Bob, did we lose Bob? What about Bob? By the way, that's one of my favorite movies. What About Bob is Richard Dreyfuss, one of my favorite movies of all time. We lost Bob. 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Oh, no, Neil. I'm sorry. Neil, what's going on?
Brian.
Yes, sir.
Listen,
what's up?
First of all, I need about an hour to argue with you. but let me cut to the point. First of all, the squad, all right? They are vulgar. They're vulgar because...
Is Donald Trump vulgar? Is Donald Trump vulgar?
No.
So hold on, let me get this right. Hold on a second.
You just finish my point.
Neil, you just said something in the first 5 seconds of this call. You just said that the squad are vulgar and Donald Trump is not vulgar. Do you realize how ridiculous that sounds?
Yeah, Donald Trump is not vulgar.
Grab him by the P? Really? That's not vulgar?
Donald Trump is a patriot. Okay?
What are you... Neil.
Send them back to their country. Okay?
Do you realize how ridiculous you sound?
No, Brian.
You're telling me... No, Neil. Okay? You're telling me Ocasio-Cortez is vulgar and Donald Trump is not vulgar. Will you listen to what you're saying? You sound insane.
The content of their speech is dripping with anti-American hatred. It's just that simple.
Neil, I'm trying to level with you here, Neil. I don't want to call you names here, okay? I'm just saying what you're saying is ridiculous. You just said that the squad are vulgar and Donald Trump is not vulgar. Even Republicans would disagree with you. What on earth are you talking about? How could you look me in the eye or even call into a show and say that Donald Trump is not vulgar?
Maybe Mitt Romney would disagree with me, but no, the squad is vulgar.
What do you mean, Mitt Romney?
The content of their speech is dripping with anti-American hatred. You can't ignore that.
Give me one thing that Ocasio-Cortez has said that you think, besides the concentration camp comment, which I don't agree with. Name me one other thing that Ocasio-Cortez has said that you think is more vulgar than anything Donald Trump has ever said.
All right, I want to get to the concentration thing. If you give me a minute.
I don't want to talk about No, we're not going to talk about I just said I don't agree with it. We're in agreement there.
I cannot cite, line and verse.
So you can't cite line and verse, but yet you can't cite line and verse. Yet Neil, with all due respect, you call into the show. You can't cite line and verse. It's like calling somebody a racist, and then you can't come up with what they said that makes them a racist. Come on, man. Come on, Neil. You could give me something better than that. Let's go to Bob. Bob, what's going on?
Hi there. Are you there?
I am here, Bob, unfortunately.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Okay. I certainly empathize with Congressman Cummings and his being broken into. I mean, I lived in a situation where I had one car vandalized.
It's not a good feeling, Bob, right?
Months.
It's not a good feeling.
That?
It's not a good feeling.
It's a very bad feeling.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you spoke of Cummings as a wonderful father. This man fathered 2 children by 2 different women out of wedlock.
Mm-hmm. So is Donald Trump.
I don't know that.
Well, I do. So is Donald Trump. Just saying, okay. So is Donald Trump.
And he is very interested in Mr. Trump's tax returns. And
yeah, as am I.
IRS.
As am I.
$1,000.
Listen, I don't think Elijah Cummings is a perfect human being.
But
I think he is a decent
standard to Mr.
No, I'm not.
Trump.
No, I'm not. Find me something. Now, Elijah Cummings has called Donald Trump a racist. I don't know what's in Donald Trump's heart.
What does racist mean? Let's define our terms.
I would say treating people differently based on gender or color of skin, and that's exactly what Donald Trump has done.
Does it?
I'm sorry?
Gender has nothing to do with racism.
Well, I'm just saying when you look at somebody based on the color of their skin, in this case, I believe Donald Trump has done that. I believe that is a racist thing to do. Absolutely. I do.
Let's think about racism for a moment. The problem with racism is that it's basically a condition that is mental and that affects people personally in terms of being something that is self-defeating. If you take any person and you put that person in a situation where they have no possibility of bettering themselves, ultimately that person is going to strike out at those people.
Bob, are you blaming? Do you realize that slavery happened, right? You do realize that there are police, not the majority, but there are law enforcement out there that treat minorities differently. Right now, you are a Caucasian man, right? Have you ever been looked at or treated differently because of your skin color or your religion? Do you know what that feels like?
I mean, I was beaten up by 3 black men at Switchblade Point.
Okay.
Kicked unconscious, spent 5 days in the hospital.
And I'm sorry that happened to you. But does that make?
I am too.
Does that make all?
I did not necessarily take that to be a statement about black people.
Well, I would hope you didn't, because if you did, you would be a racist.
Of course, I would.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, that is a fact of life. And why does that happen?
Why does what happen? Why did 3 African Americans beat you up? Why did 3 white people beat somebody up? I don't know.
African Americans, they're black Americans.
Okay, whatever. What is your point? Because I what do you mean that is life? I mean, people get beat up. It's horrible. I feel badly that happened to you. But the fact that the color of their skin means nothing in this situation. Nothing.
Exactly so.
Okay, so we agree, Bob. I appreciate the call. It felt like we were debating, but we were debating nothing. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind, Mike?
Things I wanted to bring up. I mean, first, let's talk about the fact no one ever mentions minorities or African Americans and the huge amount of them that are affluent or middle class, rich, successful.
Right. No, that's a good point.
The liberal media always portrays them as poor, uneducated, jobless, and to me, that's true racism.
Well, I tend to agree with you. I don't know exactly who you're referring to, but
I mean, just in general, there's no like.
Well, then that's sad. Listen, I know plenty of people, African Americans in Las Vegas alone, that are a lot more successful than me. So I mean,
absolutely,
we're not gonna debate that, Mike. So I agree with you. Yes.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, slavery was horrible, And this whole thing with reparations, when you're 4 generations out of slavery.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
I understand. But I'm saying these people, it's almost like they hit the lotto because they got to be American citizens because their ancestors were slaves.
Mike, I agree, Mike. Unfortunately, I got to get to some other callers, but listen, I'm not for reparations. We got another Mike. I think we got, is it Marge? Marge, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, Marge? I got about 30 seconds for you.
Couple points on this whole Elijah Cummings thing. First of all, Cummings said that he's scared away the intruder anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there was really a burglary, but it shows also that today Republicans are criticizing him, so now he says, well, I didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah, right.
And,
it's so childish.
Yeah, and the thing with Nikki Haley, I mean, there's been talk about her meaning possibly being his vice president.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and
I don't think that's going to happen.
Why would she come out and say something like that today?
Yeah.
Maybe she's sending a subtle message to him, like, leave me alone, I'm not interested, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm going to tell you, I hope, I got to let you go, Marge. I appreciate the call. I don't think there's any chance that Nikki Haley will be vice president. All right, rapid fire here. I'm going to give everybody 10 seconds to make their comment. Let's go with Keith. Keith, you're next on the Vegas Take. I got 10 seconds for you. Go.
Well, yes, sir. Modest worker in Vegas. Have $200,000 in my 401k. 12% last quarter. I made $24,000. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Okay, Keith, I appreciate the call. We'll get to that coming up in the next segment. 257-5396. Brad, you're next. You got 10 seconds. Go.
I'll be quick. So, I mean, I have a lot of points. I'll just make one. You're asking why lower corporate tax rates, why put tariffs on? Because he's trying to protect the American worker and have the corporations come back here.
All right. Well, I would make the argument, Brad, if he's
trying. America is important for the whole world.
I got a couple more callers, and I'm up against a break, Brad. I'm sorry to cut you off, but if that was the case, then why would he be giving all these tax breaks for these Fortune 500 company CEOs? Mike, I got 10 seconds for you. Go.
Hey, Brian, I really appreciate you taking the call. Normally, I can't stand you, man. I normally want to call up and argue with you all day long.
Join the club.
I gotta say, everything you said today, I'm 100% on board with. I can't stand the way Trump acts. I don't like what he says, what he does.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, everything that he actually puts in place, I agree with.
And you know what, Mike?
I can't go with the crazy left.
And Mike, I respect your opinion on that. I respect anyone that says that. Okay, I'm going to squeeze in one more quick call, then we got to go to break. Jeff, I got about 10 seconds for you. Go.
Yeah, Brian, you are 100% factually incorrect.
About what?
About the stock market only benefiting rich people. Anybody who's in a 401k or a pension or anything like that, which is most middle class.
Find somebody that makes under $30,000 a year that's benefiting off the stock market, please. Find me that, Jeff. You're wrong. No, you're wrong. You're wrong, and I got to go up to break. Listen, it's not that I'm trying to cut everybody off, but I have a hard break I have to get to here. We will continue this conversation on the other side of the break, and we will be joined by Amy Vanderpool, who will be joining us from the BBC, who won these Democratic debates. We're going to find out with Amy coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.